Jikook frowns. Why hasn't Jimin changed yet? He can't enjoy being in those tattered old clothes they were wearing. Something very startling and increasingly unpleasant blooms in the back of Jungkook's mind. But it can't be. He takes a deep breath and makes first the central commands. The cockpit is bare by a low set of metallic strings, so that the people sitting in a giant lounge can see all the happenings inside. Even talk to the crew if they fancy. Keep an eye on the ATA and check the progress through the galaxy. The ship has cleared the Earth's atmosphere and is slowly making its way towards Mars. When they clear the last of Jupiter's moons, and only then can they go into light speed travel. Any time before that, the power of the ship might affect gravitational forces of the first 4 planets. The point is to leave as much intact as possible. Hey, excuse me, did everyone make it onto the ship? Jikook pulls himself onto the raised platform of the cockpit, as is greeted by a gentle-faced man with a stern smile. We haven't yet been able to recount the data, but that shouldn't be more than a couple minutes. Is there someone you're looking for? Yeah, Jimin, Park Jimin, Jikook says, raising his finger to his lip as if he chew on his nails, but he catches himself last second and lowers his hand back down. Quite a common name, the man says, pulling up a list of names and scrolling through them. Jikook watches, rocking on the balls of his feet. Do you know how old is he? No, we're orphans. Don't really keep track of that stuff. Ah, I'm very sorry to hear that. The man's voice softens, along with his eyes, as he lowers them back onto the scrolling list. Little green checks connected to each name, and Jikook hope against hope that one of them is Jimin. He's Jimin. Where is he from? Busan. It's a tiny little district. We're both from there. Ah, yes, the man says, nodding at the scrolling slows, and he pauses over the tiny little red X marked next to Park Jimin. Busan. He frowns. It seems that he might have missed check-in, but I'm sure after the second round of confirmations we'll find him. No one's missed a ship since the third one took off. Oh no. Jikook takes a deep breath through his nose. His heart is pounding somewhere in his temples and his fingers feel cold, his neck too hot. The space around him doesn't have enough oxygen, and he feels his vision slip in and out of focus. Just another minute or so before the second round of confirmations come in, the man says, tapping the refresh button at the top right corner of his list. Jikook closes his eyes and tries to keep still. Tries to keep himself from tipping right over and falling off the edge of the raised platform. This cannot be happening. The main voice did not bode well. What? Jikook's eyes snapping open. There's still a little red X next to Jimin's name. It seems that he didn't make it onto the ship, and the final head count did come up to 1 person short. Oh no! What do you mean he didn't make it into the ship? Jikook's fingers curl into fists, his voice low and shaky as his mind buzzes and blanks out to a field of white. Noise and heat colliding and melting till he can't think of the rush blood behind the ears. He's not on the ship, I'm sorry. Sorry? Why are you sorry? Jikook blinks and forces himself to breathe again, his mind untangling bits of logic, stringing it around his throat, pulling tight. We just have to turn the ship around and go get him. Oh no. I'm very sorry, but we can't do that. Why not? His teeth are gritted, so tight the words barely make it out of coherent. We can't just turn back around and land the ship again. Why the fuck not? Jikook takes a step forward and immediately another man appears by his side, tall and broad, shouldered, placing a firm hand on Jikook's arm. Please, sir, it would be wise for you to calm down. You left my friend behind. My friend is back there, on Earth. The last person on Earth, and you left him there. Oh my god. Jikook's throat aches with the words he's shouting, but he almost doesn't hear them over the sound of his fear, his agitation, disbelief, every single emotion he's ever thought he would be able to feel, surging up through his arteries and bones, sizzling up and down his spine, curling around his ribcage, constricting his lung, his throat, his heart, his heart, his heart. There are tears running down his face. He doesn't realize it till he tastes them on his lip. We have to go back, my friend. My best friend is back there. We have to go back. He's trying to claw his way into the pilot's seat, as if he could somehow turn the ship around himself. But the second man has him in a vice grip, holding him with arm around his waist. We can't. The first man says, voice quivering, but final is his tone. Because it will take another 6 months for the launch pad to power up again. And his voice falters as he swallows. Jikook lets out a ragged, broken sob. And we powered down the atmospheric lattice generators when we left. We assume that it will no longer be necessary, given the circumstances. So the oxygen supply will be depleted by morning. You turn off the... Jikook's cry gets cut up in his throat. I'm very sorry. There's nothing we can do. Fuck that. Fuck that. We're going back. I don't care. If it takes another 6 months, we can all stay in this damn ship if we have to. He's shaking his head as if he could read it of the truth spilling over his cheeks onto the ground. Shaking his head as he will help him clear away the myriad of memories of Jimin. Jimin in his lap, like that space between closing your eyes and falling asleep. Jimin with his hands that the air so small was strong enough to knock the air out of Jungkook's chest. That one time they tried to teach each other boxing from a book. Jimin with his smile like a sunrise and eyes like stars, like diamonds in the sky. Ah! He's just one person, the first man says. But it's Jimin. And he sounds like he's trying to convince himself more than anyone else. We can't endanger the lives of 10,000s of people for just one but he's my one person. He's my only person. Oh no. Jungkook's body goes slack, and the arm around his waist loosens. A crowd has gathered around the cockpit, watching the entire scene unfold like some gross spectacle in a circus show. He's the only family I have, that I've ever had. He barely hears his own words over the sound of his breathing, can barely taste them over the sadness settling on his song. The aftertaste of a bad nightmare he refuses to go away. You're not talking about a little boy, about your age, shorter with damn cheeks, are you? An old man stepped out of the crowd. People are muttering, stepping back to make room. Jungkook's head snaps up, and he almost falls over the edge of the platform. Yes, that's him. Have you seen him? Is he here? Where is he? Said he had to go get something he forgot at home. Sounded real important. He told me to look after his place in line for him. I don't know how to do this accent. Did see him come back. The old man shifts his head on his head and heaves a deep sigh. And you just let him go? Jimmy makes to launch himself forward, but the second man's strong arm finds its way around its middle again, and it knocks the wind right out of him. We can try to make radio contact, the first man's voice say from behind Jungkook. It is soft, imploring, almost desperate. Try as it might, hearts are still made of soft things, tissue and blood and muscle, things that wound easily, things that tend to scar instead of heal. Would that be okay? Jungkook is gasping for breath. That isn't there, but he nods. He nods and nods and nods. After a flurry of whispers, in a language Jungkook swears he doesn't know, and a mess of beeps and click and soft static, the first man speaks into a small microphone on a long cord. Hello? Is anyone there? Does anyone hear me? And then, like a piercing shadow of clarity, painful enough to clear the mind, comes Jimin's voice. Hello? Is someone there? Hello? Oh no. Jimmy! Oh look, Jimmy! Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Jungkook grabs the microphone as the man hands it to him and clutches it to his mouth, like he could not only save him, but everyone else in the ship. You won't be able to get you on a private line because the signal is too weak, the man whispers, close to Jungkook's ear. And once we clear Jupiter's moon, we'll lose radio distance. But you have a little while. Jungkook nods without really hearing the words, too intent on the breaths coming from the large speakers above him. He could almost hear Jimin's heartbeat, feel it beneath his cheeks as he pressed his face against the cool of the wall, trying to hold down his hiccups. Jungkook? Oh shit, is that you? Yeah, it's me. What the hell did you go back to grab? You know you missed the ship, right? Yeah, figured that one out myself. I picked up a teleportation ticket on the ground and figured that, well, you said you wanted to plant cherry trees when we got to the new planet, right? So I came back to grab your gardening book. It sounds sheepish. Jikook can almost see the embarrassed little smile on his face as he scratches the back of his neck. You went back for a book? Jikook lets out a strangled laugh and lets his head thump back against the wall. Back pressed to it, knees down to his chest. I wanted to surprise you. Jikook feels tears prickling at the edge, me too, of his eyes again as he digs a small, thin book from the large pocket in his new pants. The Little Prince. Me too. This is not going well. This is not going well. The silence fills the room. No one is talking. All of them looking at the boy curled up against the wall, cradling the speaker to his cheek, a book resting in his lap, entire ocean caught in his eyelashes. We're coming back for you, Jikook says, wiping at his tears. The first man snaps around and is about to say something when Jikook swipes his hand across his own neck a couple of times. Don't. The man falters and keeps quiet. You are? Hell yeah, we are. I'll pilot this damn ship myself if I have to. You always wanted to be a pilot. I did, Jikook says, a small laugh pressing past his lips. Jimmy always remembered, even when Jikook didn't. And now I am. I guess dreams really do come true. This time Jimmy laughs, and to Jikook it sounds like damnation. It sounds like salvation. It will take a while though. We're pretty far out, so you should probably get some sleep or something. You love sleep. Yeah. Jimmy? Yeah? We'll be there by morning. Captain promise. Jikook bites down hard on his tongue. The captain's got a pair of in-ears, but he glances over with a sad little smile before his eyes refocus on the 20 or so screens in front of him. A momentary slip up, and everyone on his ship is a goner. Jikook thinks that it might not be so sad right now. He did? Yep, he did. So you should really get some rest. You gotta wake up at the ass crack of dawn, and your shit are waking up without me. Jimmy laughs again, and Jikook swallows, letting his eyes fall shut. And you better hold on to that book. We're gonna need it when we land on the new planet. I won't lose it, I promise. Good. Another silence. Jikook soaks in the sound of Jimmy's breaths and wonders if he could give up his own for Jimmy's. If he just held his breath long enough, he could somehow send his lost breath through the speaker to him, to keep him alive for... What star are you going to? Jimmy asks, breaking the silence. His voice is fuzzy with static. The man points at the screen with the map of the solar system. The ship is closing on the first Jupiter's month. Your star. We're going to your star. Oh no! Oof. Jikook says, letting his head drop between his knees to steady his breathing. The one you picked out that night? We were on the roof. Oh. I'm no good with these things. Really? Yeah, it will be a long way there, so you should rest really rest up. I know. Jimmy's voice is indulgent, and it seeps into Jikook's skin, sticking like the apple juice that leaks down your fingers when you take too big of a bite. It's sunset, you know, Jimmy says after another brief break. The static is getting worse, half syllables breaking off. Jikook glances at the screen halfway to the last of Jupiter's month. Is it pretty? He asked, running a finger over the cover of the Little Prince, tracing the title. Too pretty. Sunrise is still prettier, Jikook says, but he hears the choke of his own voice and has to swallow again. It's getting dark and cold, Jimmy says, and for the first time Jikook picks up the waver in Jimmy's voice. And it isn't the static. You should sleep. Close your eyes and sleep. You're at home, right? Yeah, the sofa is really big when you're not squishing me off it. Jikook chuckles and curls his free hand into a fist, so tight that his knuckles go white. Well, you get it all to yourself tonight. Jikook, I'm here. I'm scared. Don't be. Jikook fights and fights and fights to keep his voice steady. 3 more moons. I'm right here, okay? Right here. He casts about for something else to say, eyes settling on the large window of the universe beyond. Close your eyes and try to sleep. I'll sing you a song, okay? You say you always wanted to hear me sing? Jimmy's breath comes in a small hiccup. Yeah, I guess dreams really do come true. Lie down and close your eyes, okay? 2 more moons. The crowd shifts. The old man at the front takes off his hat and presses to his chest, eyes downcast. Okay. Ah! Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Jikook lets out a tiny sob. They're passing the last moon. Jimin's voice echoes out of the static reading speakers. How I wonder what you are. Ah! Whew. Okay, that's it for this chapter. Let's go to the next one. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. How long is this one? Oh, it's very short. Okay. There's a planet out there with a boy and a book of flowers. But you said there was a really long time ago. Jikook glances down at the Galatian boy and reaches out a hand to ruffle his hair. It is thick and dark and feels like tendrils of a long ago night, when stars still used to paint the skies. It is, Jikook replies, and though it has been too many Earth years, he still can't quite shake his accent. His words are rounder, softer, slurred in a way Glitian isn't. Glitian. Then how is he still a boy? Shouldn't be the Glitian boy frowns. Features startlingly similar to a human. Jikook wonders if either of his parents were human, but that's still rare. A genetic testing is at a standstill. Grown up? Jikook supplies with a little laugh, leaning back in his chair, his head hitting the trunk of one of his beloved cherry trees. Oh no! He points up at the greenhouse ceiling, a thin sheet of shifting plasma keeping the oxygen in, the nitrogen out, projecting the universe across his particular expanse of sky. Yeah, one of those things. Because I don't know if he's chosen to grow up. I sure haven't. I'm still a boy. The boy frowns. What do you mean? Jikook presses a few buttons on his chair, and it spins into life, wheeling over the edge of a huge greenhouse, where the entire wall is covered by books, behind carefully monitored cases as to prevent decay. He reaches in and tugs one out, a particular book, a thin book, with the picture of a little boy and a flower on the cover. You've read the book to us, the Galatian boy, trills, clapping and grinning. He's my favorite, well, no, my favorite books with that boy on earth. What's his name? Jikook pauses. Jimin's name's on the tongue like a prayer, a pearl, a perpetual promise of maybe. I forget, like I said. It was a really long time ago. But I like to think of him as the keeper of memories. Keeper of memories? The Galatian boy echoes, voice thrumming soft and round, trying to imitate Jikook's accent. Jikook flips open the little prince and points at a passage about seeing and hearts and flowers, and he reads it out loud, translating as he goes. The boy stays quiet till the end and quirks his head. So, are all the flowers for him? So he won't have to wonder if a sheep has eaten his flower? There are too many flowers for any sheep to eat here. And as if to illustrate, the boy waves his hand towards the massive expanse of the greenhouse. Acres and acres of land. Acres and acres of cherry blossom. Jikook laughs. Smart. Yes, these are for him. So he can look up at the sky and see the stars abloom with flowers. Must be lovely, all by himself, the Galatian boy says, wrinkling his nose as a petal falls on it. He goes briefly cross-eyed, staring at the tiny pink thing before he shakes his head and it flutters to the ground. Jikook heaves a sigh and nods and tries not to think, as he has done so many nights, so many days, so many weeks and months and years, about how small Jimin must have looked curled up on that couch, wondered if Jimin sang himself to sleep that night, with his eyes squeezed shut, pretending that it's Jungkook's voice, and if Jungkook had to name one regret in his own entire life, since the obvious one of letting Jimin. If he had only held on, if he would say that he was not singing more when he had a chance, not singing for Jimin when he had asked, not singing him awake and singing him asleep, and singing him through the paces and prints of every single day they had together as boys. Still as boys now. He has my favorite book to keep him company. And if he can see it, this whole garden in the sky, Jikook says, and smiles to himself, because he has to hold on to something to keep himself sane. Funny that is the very thing driving him to what people of the old would have called insanity. Believing, deluding himself into it. No, believing that maybe there's a chance that Jimin is still alive, and looking up and wondering if Jungkook is there too. Well, if these are his flowers, then where are yours? The Galician boy asks. Jungkook presses his finger over the book in his hands, tracing the tethered outline, and tries to imagine sunrise. There are 2 suns here, and too many moons to count, so no sunrise or sunset. As the rotation of suns and moons are many stars, is nearly impossible to chart them. He tries to imagine the sunrise as beautiful as those on Earth, and can't. And then he wonders if the sunrises themselves were beautiful, or if they were made so by the way Jimin's face would light up when they happened. He tries to remember a sunrise without Jimin by his side, and can't. There are none to be remembered. He's my flower, just the one. Stop it! Oh, the boy says, and then recedes into silence. And then how do you know that he's still there? That the sheep hasn't eaten the flower? That's what the book says, right? Jungkook nods and places the book back in its case, lock clicking into place with a small hiss. He looks back up in the makeshift sky, projected across the greenhouse ceiling, and tries to imagine the universe beyond, the direction that the earth might be in, and he sighs, deep and heavy, lacing his fingers over his laps. The ground below is covered in fallen flowers. That's why I'm still a boy, because I wonder if my flower is still there. And like the book says, that's a kind of pain, a kind of importance that no grow-up would ever understand. I'm sorry, the author says. You should be sorry. Oh. It's so sad, but it's so beautiful. It's so nicely written, and thank you so much, Word Couture, for this beautiful fanfic, beautiful Jikook fanfic. It really warms my heart, but it also makes me cry at the same time. So I loved it, but I hated it at the same time. But anyway, I hope you have liked this reading of fanfiction, of Jikook Fanfiction, and if you want me to read other fanfictions as well, please send me links. I will love to read anything you would send me if it is very much requested. I hope you like this reading of fanfiction, and I'll see you next time. See you, bye bye.